What's up, everybody? It's Flair, former 1%, and I'm here chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Flair, 1%. Oh, like sponsor. Your sponsor. Yes. Yeah.
He was my sponsor. That was my boy's brother-in-law. Like,
oh, man.
He was the vice president, and there was I felt like there was a lot of pushback when it came to me. Not everybody, not everything. I felt like just specifically me and ideas that I brought to the table and things like that were being scrutinized and things like that. So I got to the point where I was just like, you know what, like this is bull. And I was like, they were like, oh, like we got elections coming up. I said, all right, cool. I said, all right, y'all want to play? Bet. I'm going for vice president.
So when you have an election coming up, do you have to like go around and campaign and talk to different members and be like, yo, vote for me?
I didn't. I don't know how. This was my first time dealing with any elections or anything like that. So I wasn't sure how it worked. I just knew that I wasn't being treated fairly. Well, at least that's how I felt, and I knew that I had to make a change. So when the nominations came up, I was like, all right, I'm going for vice president. And everybody looked at me. They were like, serious? I'm like, yep. I'm like, whoever wants to vote for me, I appreciate it, and I can just show you guys what I'm willing to do. And sure enough, dude, they fucking voted me vice president.
Does it have to be a majority vote? How does it work?
So in that club, it was majority. Some clubs are majority. Some clubs are unanimous. That club was majority, and it was so funny how it worked out because, like, we had a meeting. And everybody was there except for the vice president and his best friend. They weren't at the meeting, but they were together, right? And they were the only two people who voted for him. Everybody else voted for me.
Because he had a problem with you.
Yeah, it was. Everybody could see what was going on, and everybody knew it wasn't fair. And even though they wouldn't speak up about it, they voted. I feel like they voted in the way that they thought was right.
Do you think he voted against you getting your patch early?
Absolutely. I know he voted against it.
Wow, your own sponsor voting against you.
And you know what, bro? Like, I look back at it, and I don't know what happened. I don't know why he felt the way he felt. I still to this day, dude. Like, I still appreciate him for teaching me the things that he taught me, and just bringing me into the lifestyle. But I had to go my own way because I knew that I wasn't able to deal with people like that. And when I say people like that, I mean like people who act unfairly. I'm not able to deal with that without, speaking up for myself, and I can't do it.
It's envy. I think it's envy, a little bit of jealousy.
Possibly. And you know what? Like, it was, at the time, he was always like, oh, I was the fastest person in Wild Days history to get my center patch and this, and that. So it always made me feel like, damn, maybe he's mad because I'm a better prospect than he was. I don't know. It was many possibilities, but I was just like, you know what, dude? Like, I'm just going to do what I got to do to make changes. That's all.
So you get voted in as the vice president.
Yeah.
What's the next time you see him? And is he pissed? Like,
how
does that go?
So the next time, after that, it was a bit awkward. It was a little awkward after that, and there was I feel like there was a lot of side eyes and a lot of people picking sides, and it was just uncomfortable. It was an uncomfortable situation, honestly. I felt like I felt like my bros were turning backs on me and stuff, like, because because I took somebody's position or whatever the case may be, and I didn't care, but it was also like, damn, dude, like, I thought we were supposed to be cool. I thought we were supposed to be bros, like.
Yeah, like you weren't feeling like welcome there anymore.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly, and that's really what it came down to.
So what transpires next?
So I stood there for for a little while longer. I don't even remember how long. Not even a year, less than a year. And it got to the point where when I became vice president, I felt like certain things needed to be changed, and I tried to make those changes, and people weren't like they weren't perceiving what I was saying and in the proper ways, and they were taking it like I had a power trip and I was this young cat just trying to control everything, and I'm like, I'm trying to make changes, I'm trying to make things better. And it got to the point where I told the president, who was like one of my closest friends at the time, I told him, I said, dude, like, I'm going to start, like, I'm going to start putting my hands on people. And he's like, oh, we don't do that. You can't do that. I'm like, well, who's going to stop me? And he's like, oh, blah. And then me and him started getting into it. It was like, dude, like, I can't be here if this is what it's going to be. And I ended up, I told, so my uncle, rest in peace, my uncle John, he was a Ching A Lings nomad. And he called me one day, he's like, dude, I'm riding up to Connecticut, take a ride with me. I said, cool, let's go. Take a ride up, and I'm chilling with the Ching A Lings nomads, and I'm just hanging out, and I'm talking to my uncle, and he's asking me how everything's going. I'm like, honestly, dude, like, I'm not liking it, I'm not enjoying it. I feel like there's too much hating going on. There's too much, like it's not enough. There's not enough brotherhood going on for me. There's more. I feel like it's more bickering than anything. And he's like, dude, just come home. And I was like, no. It's like no. Like, and he was like, I'm telling you. I said, you know how I am. I said, me being in an outlaw club, it's not gonna be pretty for anybody. And my uncle was straight up like, this is where you need to be. This is where I want you to be, and you don't need to be at that club anymore. And I was like, let me think about it. And on the way home, I thought about it. And the fact that I thought about it, it made me choose right then and there. If I had to think about it, then I was already gone.
Yeah.
And that same day, I went back to New York. I packed all my shit up. I hit up the president. I was like, "Where you at?" He said he was in Jersey City at the time. The Jersey City charter had a clubhouse, and I said, "All right, I'm gonna meet you there." And I went there with all my stuff, anything I had from that club, any memorabilia, anything. And I said, "Dude, this is what it is. This is the situation. I'm out." And he was like, "I respect it. I don't want you to leave, but I love you, and I know that you're not going anywhere." And that was it. And a lot of people didn't like that I left. Some people even stopped talking to me. Um, but I was okay with it.
When you leave, do they make you out bad?
No,
And what are they
no,
still
and
talking to you? Are you good with them?
yeah. So I was good with them, but I also was like, I didn't care if they tried to put me out bad because like you're not an outlaw club, and I'm joining an outlaw club right now. So like what are you really gonna do to me? What are you gonna say to me? You know.
Yeah, really.
So I really didn't care.
Now the Ching A Lings is a pretty well known MC out there.
Yeah.
Tuxedo was a part of the Ching A Lings, wasn't
Yes,
he?
sir. Yes,
Yo,
sir.
what's your experience with them? What's the process? You go there to your uncle and they say, "Here's a prospect patch." Like what
So,
transpires?
they actually offered me a fullback because when I left my club, I was the vice president. So because they already knew who I was beforehand, because remember my uncle was a Chingling, so I would go there, I would hang out and things, I would bring my club there. So they already knew who I was. They already knew what I was doing on the scene. They already heard my name, so they wanted to give me a full patch, and I said no. I turned it down.
Now
And they
they're
were like,
out of the Bronx, right?
yeah,
Are they out?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I turned it down. I said no. I said I want a prospect. And the president would look at me like if I was crazy. And I said, yeah, I want a prospect, dude. Like I don't know nothing about you guys. And I said I need to learn how to be a Chingling before I could feel comfortable wearing a full patch.
And they had to respect that.
Yeah, they did. They did. They respected it. And then I started prospecting. So actually, I had went. So it was like Usually they wait till you have church, which is the monthly meetings or whatever the case may be, and they'll bring you in. But I went to the clubhouse the next day to just hang out, to just chill with them, just to get to know the guys and stuff. And the president called me in, and he gave me patches that same day. That next day, yeah, he gave me like, and it was just a. So what I told them was like they gave me top rocker, bottom rocker, and MC, no center patch. And I said, okay, I'm good with that. But I just wasn't good with having a full back. I wasn't okay with that.
And that the Ching A Lings have a controversial back piece on their pads, on their cuts.
Yeah.
What did you think of that? Like before you joined, what were your thoughts on that back patch?
Dude, I grew up reading articles about these dudes. I grew up watching videos. Even before I ever thought about getting on a motorcycle. Like I grew up, knowing who these guys were. And I grew up respecting that patch. And knowing the history and knowing that, Black Eddie was fully Puerto Rican and he's the one who brought that swastika about. I'm Puerto Rican. My family's Puerto Rican. So for me, it was just if Black Eddie could do it, I could do it too.
There's other clubs that have the same.
That's the patch that I wore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Like you have a choice because there's two different patches. So when you get your center patch,
they give you a choice.
Yeah, they give you a choice. You have a choice. You can choose the swastika or you can choose the Maltese cross. And I chose the swastika because I believe in originality, and I believe in going back to the roots, and that's what I wanted to do.